Now, I just need to do one little thing. All right. So officially, good evening, everyone. It's very, it's amazing to be here one night again for us to learn a little bit more. Hi, Patricia. Good to see you. Um, so, Sonia, do you want to do our opening prayer, dear?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let us all close our eyes and welcome everyone, incarnate and discarnate. And we thank you, Heavenly Father, for this opportunity to gather and be able to open our hearts and mind to learn, to grow, to appreciate, to be able to appreciate the blessings and the learnings of Kiki and all of us as a group, that we are able to move forward with love and grace. And it is with so much love and with permission that we ask to be able to open our session of learning for this evening. And with so much love and grace, we open our session for tonight. So be it.
All right. Thank you, sister.
Mm.
Okay, so welcome everybody to the second class of Introduction to Spiritism. I don't know if everybody had the chance to watch the movie that we mentioned last week. We were talking about Allan Kardec. And does anyone have any questions, any comments about the movie if you watched?
I
It's a
didn't watch
beautiful
it.
movie. We can always watch again. All right. So I just would like to start with a quick recap of what we saw last week. So let's remember that this is an individual journey. When we think about understanding spiritism and understanding what is that we are doing here, is really about understanding how the spiritism can be this tool for us to find our inner peace, to find safety, to find happiness, and to understand how to manage the things that are under our control and how to respond to the things that are not under our control. So one of the things that we saw in this journey is that discipline is very important, and not only the discipline of coming here and reading and learning, but also the discipline of our thoughts, the discipline of our feelings and our emotions, because we see, and we are going to see even more, that everything is highly connected. So the more that that we can be in tune of what we are learning, the better it's going to be for our not only of how we feel, but also for those who are surrounding us. So this is an invitation for us to be here today, but also for you to keep reflecting along the week. We saw the difference between spiritualism and spiritism. So, quick reminder, spiritualism are all the religions and all the beliefs that understand that there is a spirit, and not necessarily that a spirit continue or that there are communications. Understand spiritualism, and this exists from ancient times, so it's not anything new. Spiritism instead started in 1848, when the methodology of talking to spirits and understanding why they were communicating, or why so many, why we are here, why there are spirits, and if God exists, This is spiritism, is really going beyond understanding that there is a spirit, but it is understanding that there is a spirit. They keep living, they reincarnate, and all the things that we are going to see today as part of the fundaments of the spiritism. And it all started in 1846 with the Fox sisters in New York City, when they started communicating with the spirits that were knocking on their cabin. And it doesn't mean that it really started there, but from that moment onwards, everything started to be more agitated. So more places or more people were starting to tell that they were that they were facing these types of phenomena. And this is how it just brought more of the intention for people to understand and see what was going on. So in 1853, in France, it started the turning tables, and the turning tables was really the games that people would just get together for them to see what the table was speaking. But that was a game, that wasn't like anything serious. And then in 1855, Professor Rivail is invited to understand that. And why Rivail? Because he was a teacher, very known educator, and he was a scientist. He was a professor in mathematics, and he was a scientific person. So he is invited to understand this phenomena and kind of unveils what was that. So he gets interested, he sees that there is more on that, he sees that there is opportunity to understand spirituality and why all of that is happening, and he starts a research. But it's not only a informal research. He starts with methodology, and he does something very, very serious. And from this moment on, he receives the message from the Spirit of the Truth, which is the third revelation. So first revelation, we have Moses. Second revelation was Jesus. And then third revelation, the Spirit of Truth, that come to tell us, to set us free on understanding that life goes on. So from this moment on, Rivail adapts the name of Allan Kardec, which is the name that the Spirit of Truth told him that this is the name that he used to have in previous lives when he was a druid priest. And Rivail decides to use that name, so then people do not understand him as the educator bringing those enlightenments. They understand that this is coming from the spirits. From this moment on, he starts writing the books with all the support from the spirits on high. And then the first book is the Spirits book, and we are going to talk about this a little bit later. Then 4 years later, he releases the Medium's book. Then 2 years later, the Gospel according to Spiritism, then Heaven and Hell, and the Genesis. We are going to talk about all of these books later today. And then the message that we ended last week was, the true Spiritists can be recognized by their moral transformation and by the efforts that they employ in order to dominate their bad instincts. So this is important that we keep on our mind. All this journey, everything that we are doing here, is for us to recognize what is necessary on our moral transformation. And this effort of understanding what is wrong and dominate our bad instinct is ours. Nobody's gonna point that on us except our conscience. That's the reason why I'm always encouraging us to have a pencil or a pen for us to write down, because those are the moments that our mentors are kind of gonna tell us, hey Chris, pay attention to that part, and then we can write that down and keep reflecting along the week. So this is the invitation that Allan Kardec did for us, and this was a recap from last week. And before I move forward, does anyone have any question, anything that would like to bring, or can I move on? Okay, I'll move on. And guys, please feel free to just interrupt me if you have any question, please. So today we're going to talk about the fundamentals of Spiritism. And it's interesting because And I really love that Riva Yu was the guy doing this codification, because he really structures the Spiritism in a way that he shows us that things make sense. So you will see that out of all the books, not only by Allan Kardec, but all the spirits on high, all the dots are connected. There is nothing that one thing will disconnect with another. And this is really interesting because it enables not only for us to understand the structure, but also to keep further understanding, to deep dive in any of those structures that resonates more with us. So first things first, why Spiritism is something that makes sense for all of us. First, it is spread from pole to pole. It's not something that came from France. They are brought through many different mediums. So we are going to see that if there is one specific medium saying, hey, I have the truth, come here, I will tell you what Jesus is telling me, this is not true. The reason why we can believe in what is being saying is because of the methodology that was used. It came from many different mediums, and it came from a lot of different places. It does not depend in one only person. There is no nationality. I know that a lot come from Brazil, but it doesn't mean that Spiritism is from Brazil. It didn't start there, and there is nothing special about it. It's just the way that the people that lives in there are developing towards the understanding of the Spiritism. It does not stem from any non-religion. So as we mentioned, it comes from the belief that there are spirits, but it's not a stem from anything that already exists. It definitely doesn't have any social class. So it's not only for the poor, not only for the rich, it's for everyone. And it's transmitted gradually by enlightened spirits. So we are now studying things that were revealed to us in 1858. From that moment now, we have so much more to understand, so much more to know about. But again, as I mentioned to you, things are built on top of the other. So it's nothing that we see from recent works are going to derail from what was at the beginning. But there is more. That's what I'm saying. There is more. So there are things that we will see from Allan Kardec that eventually we didn't have answers, that now we have those answers from other spirits in other books. So it's important that we keep looking for that. And the principle, based on the principles of the Spiritism, it has three big pillars. The first pillar is philosophy. And this philosophy is regarded with this belief in spirit. And the reason why is because when we look at all of the previous philosophers and how they were thinking about life after death, or even thinking about how this extra force was supporting the corporeal life, there are a lot of different lines of philosophy that is bringing that. So really what Spiritism is telling us is how this line of thought can bring us to further develop what we are looking for in terms of growing our understanding of life. The second very important pillar is the science, explaining the matter. So we are not only spirits, we are matter. Right now, we are incarnated. So there is no reason for us to understand that we are only spirit. So if we work only on our spiritual level, this might not have effect in this lifetime, because we are now facing the consequences from past lives. And we are now building the consequences of our future lives. So of course that things are connected, but it doesn't mean that we should not look of how the spirit works with the matter. There is a huge connection there, and the Medium's book is the book that will help us understand that part. And then the third pillar is religion. So religion is the moral aspect that helps us to understand how to navigate between these two worlds, between the spiritual world and between the scientific world. So Gospel According to Spiritism is the book that will help us to transition and understand how can we apply this learning from the science in our spiritual evolution and the other way around. So, what Allan Kardec tells us is that Spiritism is a science that deals with the nature, origin, and destiny of spirits and their relationship with the corporeal world. Because this is exactly what we are here for us to understand through matter how we can evolve our spirits via our moral transformation. So every time that we talk about spiritism, please don't keep in mind only the philosophical aspect of it. We must also understand the science and the religious principles of that. If we neglect one, the other is going to miss reasoning, and reasoning is one of the things that Allan Kardec brings to us that is so important. So going a little bit further of this line of Spiritism, as I mentioned, the Spirits book, it can be considered the doctrine's backbone because it supports all the doctrinal books. Everything else will derive from here. That's why usually this is the first book that we study after doing the Introduction to Spiritism. This is the very first book. And the reason why is because here we have all the more than 1,000 questions. And you will see that this course, it's an explanation of what this book is. We could have this course all over questions and answers. But just for the sake of going a little further on discussions, it is structured in a different way. But what is nice about this book is that, again, it's more than 1,000 questions, but the way that it was asked is very interesting. So Allan Kardec had the list of the questions that he had, and then every week he would release the question for a bunch of mediums all over the world, 37 different countries, 18 in Europe, 9 in America, 5 in Africa, 6 in Asia. Imagine yourself getting communicated with people from all over the world in 1858. So it's not that the mediums were connecting to try to find an answer, because it was weekly asked. So that's the reason why it was easier for Allan Kardec when he would read the answers, understand which were the answers that made sense because they were somehow connected, and which were the answers that were coming from spirits that could not be taken seriously. So the methodology that was used at first was what we call basket spinning on top. So there was a basket and then a pen in the basket, and then the mediums would vibrate to that basket. And at some point, they saw that they didn't need the basket anymore. The mediums could use the pen and directly write down. So this is called psychography. And the questions that Allan Kardec was doing for the spirits are not only kind questions, I would say, but those were probing questions. And those are questions that most of us have, or people that don't believe in God or don't believe in Spiritism, they also have. And Allan Kardec asked all of them for us to receive some enlightenment from the spirituality on high. So what is God? Where can the proof of existence of God can be found? Can we understand the secrets through investigation and research? What is a spiritist? What is the purpose of those incarnations? How have so many philosophers from both ancient and modern time discussed philosophical questions for so long without arriving at the truth? So he keeps probing the spirits with everything that he knew about the past, and also things that were just educational, like purgatory. Does it really exist? What is it? So the Spirits book really helps us to understand the basics of what what can be understood as a spiritism. The book is divided into 4 parts. The first part is the beginning of everything, the first cause. The second part tells us a little bit about the spirit world. The third part is the moral laws. And then the fourth, bring the hope and the consolation. Tells us kind of why are we going to use all of these for and how we are going to use all of these for. Then the second book is the book for science, as we were mentioning, and this is the mediums book. And this helps us to understand how the connection between the material world with the spiritual world happens. So this helps us also to develop our mediumship if we want to. But it also helps us to understand which are the challenges that we find whenever we want to go on with that practice. Sometimes we don't even have the choice. That is an ostensive mediumship, and then that happens, and you have to learn how to deal with that. And also, he brings to us all the experiences and all the investigations that he made to understand how to create a practice that is safe, that is productive for the development of the mediumship. This book is extremely interesting. First part is all the preliminary observations, and then the second part is huge and tells us all the different spirit manifestations and how to deal with all of them. And then again, he brings us which are the challenges behind this and why and how we would use the tool of the communication to develop our moral and to support our brothers and sisters. The third book, the third piece, so remember we are talking about the philosophy, the spirits book, the science, the mediums book, and now the religion, the moral evolvement. This is the gospel. And this is not a new gospel, but this is using the gospel that was released, that we know, but with the explanations of the spirits on high. And it's important to remember that Spiritism is not a constitutive religion. There is no specific cult. There is no rites or outside of our heart temples, I would say. You don't have to go somewhere for you to pray. You can do that on your own because we do believe that God is inside of us. So, understanding that Jesus is our moral guide, we understand the lessons with the lens of the Spiritism. And how do we know that Jesus is the moral guide? Because Allan Kardec asks. In the question 625, he asks, what is the most perfect type that God has offered to human beings as their guide, as model? And then the answer is, look at Jesus. Jesus is the realization of the highest moral perfection that human beings may attain to on earth. So we already know. We already know that their spirituality is guiding us, and there is someone. There is not one specific human being that we have to respect everything that the person is saying, or any rite or any cult. Again, is understanding what Jesus is bringing to us. Love God above all things and your neighbor as yourself. It is really practicing charity. It's really understanding how we can be helpful to our brothers and sisters. And this is also said by the Spirit of Truth. In the Gospel chapter 6, the Spirit of Truth says, Spiritists, love one another. This is the first precept. Educate yourselves. That is the second. And that's why we hear consistently everywhere that for us to open our, for us to ascend our divine senses, we have two wings. One is to love, is to serve, and the other is to learn, to educate ourselves. All of that with the intention to transform ourselves. Our inner transformation is what will enable us to find happiness, to find peace, to release ourselves from the chaos that we, most of the times that we see, either on things that we control, or on things that we don't. And it's interesting to see that this is something most of times when we are under a lot of pressure or we are under stress or there are things that are just messing with our peace, most of times is because we are not able to hold the emotions for us to react to what is going on. Of course, again, there are situations that get out of our control, but even to that, we should know that if there is God, God is in control of something that we are not. In that case, how strong is our faith? If we know that something that is not in our control, it's in God's control. That's what we should believe. And that's why, again, it is a philosophical question. This is a philosophical belief because it's out of moral. Knowing that there is a God and that there is a loving God, how come a God would just allow us to suffer? So this is food for thought. And then all the other materials that Allan Kardec gives to us, those are just diving deeper on this relation between these three worlds. So there is the book Heaven and Hell, which is very interesting. The first part of the book, it's a comparative examinations of how all doctrines talk about the passage from this life to the spiritual life. What is reward for them? What is punishment? What is the concept of angels and devil and all that kind of stuff? And then the second part are real examples. So he's collecting examples of people from many different classes, royals and farmers, a lot of different people that came to him and said, I want to share my experience. I want to tell how it was for me when I learned that I was dead. My body was dead. So it's a lot for us to learn. The other is the Genesis, and Genesis is very interesting because it explains the beginning of everything with the lens of the Spiritism. It reconciles science and religion. And it's nice because it explains what was before understood as miracles and supernatural things. The Genesis explains to us what part of the Spiritism is explaining those miracles. So miracles that we see at the Bible, they are explained in this book. Very scientific. This is the most scientific book of the series. Very difficult to understand, at least for me, but it's extremely interesting again because it's just unveiling the secrets, I would per se, of the supernatural. And then there are the Spirits Review. Allan Kardec, after he started writing the books, he started releasing monthly discussions about what he was finding, experiences with the mediumistic phenomena, how to disseminate the Spiritism, and that became something so important. And there are 12 years of Spiritists forums or articles, very interesting. They are very important part of everything that we study. And then even after he died, other Spiritists kept going. So even today, if you're interested, there is a Spiritist magazine every month with new information and collection of examples and more understanding and findings. Very, very interesting. All of that you can find free on internet everywhere. With that being said, knowing that Spiritism is this philosophical doctrine, it also has these religious consequences. And why is that? Because there is no way that you can understand philosophy without truly understanding what is the consequence of that philosophy. So there are 5 specific beliefs on Spiritism, and they are the baseline for everything that we are going to study moving forward. The first one is the existence of God. And we are going to go over each one of them. So the first one is the existence of God. The second is the existence of spirits and their survival after death. The third is reincarnation. The fourth is the multitude of inhabited world. And the fifth is the communicability of the spirits. Why are these the base of everything that we are going to see? Because these are the fine line between what differs Spiritism to all the other beliefs. And then again, once we understand that there is God and there is one God, this changes so many things. Again, it's not up to us anymore. When Allan Kardec asks to the spirits, what is God? The answer is, God is the supreme intelligence, the first cause of all things. So there is a supreme intelligence above us. We are not just reaction we are not here by chance. And again, this is not something that came out of this question. This is something that the philosophers were bringing and asking for long time. Voltaire, which is a very known and respected philosopher, said something that makes so much sense. I cannot imagine how the clockwork of the universe can exist without a clockmaker. Of course, there is no effect without a cause. And this is what our earthly science explains. There is nothing that happens by chance. There is always something behind. And this is exactly what God does. That's the reason why we know that gods exist. Of course, that what we understand in our earthly science is that everything is chemical. Yeah, God acts through the chemics. But I know that there is still so much more questions. Yet, we have limited senses to comprehend. And this is what the spirits are explaining to us. It's not that they don't want us to know, but we have limited senses. It's just like trying to explain astronomy to children. They won't understand. It's not because they are not intelligent. It's because they are developing their senses. They are understanding, and they are experiencing life. And this is what's going on with us. And that's why children have parents. That's why the children have a tutor taking care of them and helping them to understand what is right and what is wrong. That's why it is important that not only we believe and respect God, as we want our children to believe and respect us, because we want the best for them. And yet, if we still don't believe, another proof of existence of God is everything that humans can't explain, like nature. But one thing that these spirits are telling us is that it's going to get clearer as we rise above matter. So again, the more that we expand our divine senses, the more that we awake our divine senses, the clearer is going to be for us to understand what is God and how God acts on us. When we think about science and things that science can't explain, and I will use clone as an example. I mean, we can clone a human body, but we cannot give to this body a soul. Why is that? It's because it's not the earthly science to decide the soul. It's God to decide the soul. And then I just would like to bring this message from Jesus through John. Blessed are those who believe, blessed are those who have not seen and have believed. And this is so important, because again, this brings to us that there is something above us. This reminds us to be humble. This reminds us that there is someone taking care if we are lost, if we are afraid, if we are desperate. give it to God. God is in charge, and He knows what's better for us. The second aspect is the existence of the spirits and their survival after death. One of the questions that Allan Kardec does is, what is a spirit? And then the answer is the intelligent principle of the universe. Now, we just talked about God being the supreme intelligence, and now we have something that derives from that, is the intelligent principle. So God is creating a branch out of its source, I would say, its product of divine work. But what is interesting about the spirits is that it's not immaterial. So it's not that we can say it doesn't have matter, but it is quintessentialized matter in a state that it's so ethereal that it transcends earthly senses. That is why it is so difficult for us to see, for us to hear, but mostly we can feel, because this feeling is the sense that we develop at most. That is our intuition. But then let's see how God acts on matter then. Through the universal Trinity. So the universal Trinity brings, of course, three aspects. So we have God as the supreme intelligence, first cause of all things. God creates the spirit as the intelligent principle. But being this intelligent principle is not enough, because we needed to have even more different format for us to face what we have to face. So then God creates matter. And matter is nothing more than the link that bonds the intelligent principle. Let me get my laser point here. So matter is nothing more than this link that bonds this principle here with God. But there is no connection here, right? So the connection happens with what we call universal fluid. So the universal fluid is a fluid created by God that enables this interchange between spirit and matter. And again, this is what we will enable cause and effect. We will have the opportunity to talk more about universal fluid, but it is important that we understand by now that this is the Trinity and the universal fluid is this connection between them. Because this universal fluid, this goes all over, through everything, including our body. The life of the spirit is eternal, while that of the body is ephemeral. When the body dies, the soul re-enters eternal life. So if we are saying that our body dies, which is exactly what we saw here, what happens with the spirit then? And then what is the link between one another? What happens if the spirits survive after death? How does it connect? Through what we call perispirit. So this perispirit is this body in between our physical body and our spiritual body. The main characteristics of our physical body is it does not have life without a spirit, as we just saw. So even if we create clones, not necessarily it has a soul. Not necessarily, no, it doesn't have a soul. So it's not up to us to decide who lives and who lives. Definitely we shouldn't decide who dies. The body changes from lifetime to lifetime, and that's why Allan Kardec, for instance, he had the name, Riva Yu had the name of Allan Kardec in his previous life. And this also enables us to have many different experiences. So this means that I could have been a man in my previous life, or this means that I can be, someone from Asia, or it means that I can be someone from Europe in another life. So we change, our body change, regardless of our spirit. And the physical body is the densest form of the spirit. So that's why it's easy for all of us to identify incarnated spirits, because this is dense and this is easy for the senses that we developed in the earth. The spirit, in the other hand, although it's a principle, is the intelligent principle, it is individual. Each one of us has your intelligent principle, and we are eternal. Our spirit never die. We carry our spirit. I mean, it's not even life after life, because it has one life. Our body has life after life. But what is important to know about the spirit is that there are varying degrees of spirits, and this changes according to the level of purification. One way of understanding the spirit that is so thorough is we can think about them as a flame or a spark. And the spirit, the closest to the matter, or the more attached to matter, the more dense, and the more purified the spirit, the more clear, the more ethereal. And that's why when we learn about Mother Mary, for instance, when she was descending on earth, or even Jesus Christ, or any spirit that is from high spirituality, it takes years for them to ascend to earth, because they have to materialize their spirit, which is something different from the format that they are right now. And then we have the perispirit, as I mentioned, which is this connection between physical body and spiritual body. So the perispirit is nothing more than this vaporous substance. It is as if it is the same as the perisperm of a fruit seed. So like the avocado, we have the peel, and then we have the perisperm, and then we have the seed. This is exactly the same. The thing about the perispirit is that it stores all of our thoughts, all of our actions, and all of our feelings. So this is what enables us to carry from lifetime to lifetime everything that happened. So that sensation that sometimes we feel like we know how to do something for ages. Maybe this is an experience that our perispirit is bringing. Or when we love someone for the first time, feels like for the first time, maybe this is a connection from other lifetimes that we are bringing in our perispirit. So everything stays in there. And that's the reason why when we think about today being what will happen in the future, is because everything that we are doing right now is getting registered in our perispirit. So that's why it's important that we keep it clean as much as possible, because this will be carried in our life after death. So what we understand between perispirit and spirit is the state of mind the spirit finds itself as it awakens on the other side of life will depend on the thoughts and actions, good or bad, done prior on earth. So let's say that we are now in a very stressful moment, and then all of a sudden we die. Our perispirit is still carrying that stress, is still feeling all of that. And that's why it is so crucial that we awake how to balance our emotions, because we never know when it's going to happen. And if that happens right now, this is what our perispirit will be feeling, and this will cause confusion. We don't want to get confused. The other topic is about reincarnation. So the soul reaches perfection by experiencing the trials of a new existence. So we know that the spirit will live again, but it doesn't mean that it will reborn at the same body. It means that it will reborn in a new body, just like we saw in the previous slide. This is what we call reincarnation. And reincarnation is another mercy that God gives to us, because it enables us to learn through our own decisions. This is part of the free will that we will study moving forward, but it is up to us to decide which path do we want to take. Knowing that we are here for us to progress, we already know that there are other options. So if we are stuck in a situation that we are facing angry, or we are thinking about vengeance, or if we are too stuck in material thoughts, this is the decision that we are making by now. Maybe in another lifetime, we will be given the opportunities for us to rethink. And this is what God grants us. But one thing that we should never forget is the cause and effect law. This is part of the natural law. As we saw, there is no effect without a cause. This is natural law, and this is part of the justice. So sometimes when we feel like this is not fair, it's not up to us to decide. We don't know what has happened to this person in the previous life, and we don't know what this person is going to face in the next lifetime. So all we have to do in those types of situations is to have compassion. And this is the intersection with the religion, to have compassion. Because we do not know better. We feel like we know, but we don't. We are just looking to that specific lifetime, and we are blind to the rest. We reincarnate as many times as necessary. Thousands of times. I have no idea if I have how old is my soul. I'm pretty sure it's very old because I'm stubborn and I'm still trying to learn not to be. But these are the infinite opportunities that God gives to us for us to come and learn. It didn't work, and then we come again. And another blessed thing is that we forget our past lives, because this is giving us a new, fresh start. Friends, how many times have we thought about, can we start all over again? And then the answer is yes. But before, we still have to do a couple of things. We still have so much more to learn, and this is our daily opportunity. Every day that we wake up, every day that we have our clear conscience to make decisions, this is a new, fresh start that sometimes we just neglect because we wanted that the fresh start would be blah blah blah, and then we neglect. Before we reincarnate, we have a plan. It's called reincarnatory plan. And this is agreed before our birth. Maybe we don't remember about that, although most of the times we do have that feeling, that feeling that we have that maybe I could do more of these, or I could do more of that, or I always wanted to do this. This is our soul telling us it's part of your reincarnatory plan. Listen to it. We have the support of our mentors each lifetime for us to accomplish with this reincarnatory plan. So when we neglect the voice of our conscience, we are neglect hearing God's guidance. The other thing is that reincarnation after reincarnation, intelligence is never lost. So the more that we learn, the more that we expand our senses, the more that we understand, the easier it's gonna get next time. And when I say next time, it's next life. So reincarnation is a big piece of everything that we will see. And then we have the multitude of inhabited worlds. It's beautiful. I mean, when we look at the sky and then we see the immense size of the universe, it's incredible. And each one of those planets, they are different worlds providing means for each evolutionary stage. All the planets, they have various degrees to host beings in the degree of that evolution. So planet Earth is built to host us. That's why we breathe and we have air. As simple as that. That's what we need. And that's why the trees have fruits and we can plant our food and we can raise and grow our food, and we are able to develop because we have gravity, because we have sun, because we have air. All of that is suitable for our body. In other words, might be different. In other words, might be more dense than planet Earth. In other words, might be less dense, depending on what is the need of our body. We not always choose where to reincarnate, but we can visit other worlds, and visits has an asterisk in there because depending on where we want to go. But let's say that we want to visit a superior world for us to learn. We ask that for our mentor. Ask that for your mentor. Mentor, I want to learn. I want to see how it is. And then maybe when you wake up, you will remember. If you don't, your soul is. And that all that curiosity that comes inside of your heart will get subtle. And you will find where you can see more information. But not always we get to choose, especially when we are not ready for that. So remember that we were saying about the spirit that gets so etherical and it needs a lot of time to get dense and come to earth. The same happens when we want to go to a world that is too etherical. Maybe our body is not going to support that. So there are many categories of worlds, and all of them have different purposes, and we will study all of them. But one thing that we have in the Gospel of John is God never stopped creating spirits, thereby peopling several inhabited worlds in the universe. And Jesus said, in my Father's house there are many mansions. We have so much to learn and to grow and to visit. And then the last piece is the communicability with the spirits. And it's interesting that this is fundamental of everything that we are doing, because of course after the physical death we continue living, thinking and feeling. We want to talk with those who we love, we want to visit them, we want to communicate with them. So why not that wouldn't be possible? So the spirits communicate by many different means, starting with our thoughts. That's the first way that we communicate with the spirits. And Allan Kardec in the Spirits book says something very interesting right at the beginning. Spirits constantly act upon the mental and even the physical world. Remember the Fox sisters? Those knocks on the wood, those were the spirits communicating. They act upon matter and thought. They comprise one of the powers of nature and are the actual cause behind a multitude of phenomena that have been unexplainable or poorly explained until now, and which have not found a rational solution except in Spiritism. So we will understand all of this phenomena. But one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that All of us, no exception, all of us have mediumistic faculty. Some of us have more developed, some of us have less. But no one is special for having it. No one of us. There are many different ways of mediumship, and we are going to see that moving forward. So there is the ostensive mediumship that you just have it, and it's ostensive. You hear, you listen, you see. This is ostensive, and there is the other one that is more subtle. When it's consciently used to do the good, that's awesome. It brings comfort, it brings enlightenment for the incarnate spirit. That's the goal of the communication. That's the reason why it is it's possible. The problem is that we are constantly receiving suggestion according to our actions and our thoughts. So we must be careful. Remember when we were talking about discipline of our thoughts, discipline of our actions, is because everything that we do, we attract friends from the invisible world that sometimes we may not perceive that they are there, but they are there, always giving us suggestions. So if we are having thoughts, negative thoughts, thoughts of fear, thoughts of vengeance, thoughts like loneliness, sadness, all that kind of stuff that just sucks our energy, this might be a friend that is there just nurturing that type of sentiment with you. The first source for that to solve, prayer. Because when you pray, you connect yourself with your mentor, and your mentor supports you on cleaning the environment and sustaining your thoughts on the high vibrations. So mediumship exists, it's important, but it has a very serious purpose. It helps others in both realms. It receives advice from the enlightened spirits to promote self-illumination. It develops and increases the knowledge of the human progress and help those that are imprisoned in vices and passions. It's not fortune telling. It's not telling you that you're gonna find a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It's not to tell you that you're gonna have you win the lottery. That's not what the high spirituality will do. So whenever you're looking for assistance, all the serious spiritist practice will involve talks, courses, studies, passes, inner transformation, community services, things that are serious, and all free of charge. When it's free of charge, there is no other purpose rather than helping, which is connect creation to creator through inner transformation. No miracles, guys. No miracles. There is no passes that will make you be happy from today to tomorrow. It has to consider your inner transformation. All through Jesus' teachings. So I would like to finish today with a saying from Allan Kardec in the Spirit's book, and he says that studying any belief system such as Spiritism, which introduces us to radically different and awe-inspiring ideas, can only be successful when done by serious-minded and tenacious individuals, free of prejudice and motivated by unyielding desire to find the truth. So the reason why we are here, friends, is studying all of this is for us to find the truth, is for us to grow our self-awareness, and through that understand how we can find our inner peace and hopefully the happiness that we are all looking for. Is there any questions, any comments?
No.
We have a few questions.
Please feel free.
Sorry, I turn off my video now. I don't know how to unturn.
That's all right.
I don't know if you remember, like some years ago, that in Brazil there was this I remember, I think it was like no Fantástico that showed this girl that she used to turn a mattress over her. You remember that? Did you grow up in Brazil? Like,
I did, but I don't know about this lady. What's the story?
so the story was that she was able to, she
But you are breaking, sister. I didn't understand what you said.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you
You,
hear me now? I'm not moving, so I don't know why my
yeah,
okay.
I can hear you now.
Ah, oh, it says my internet's unstable. So sorry about that.
No, that's all right.
So she was able to like move objects, and she was able to turn them at, so the funny thing was like she was laying down, and it like they recorded like turning on top of her,
Hmm.
and then they will say that she was possessed, all that thing. And then I was talking to Kirk, and then he was like, why these things are not on TV? Like, why people don't see that every day, right? If they
Hmm.
do happen, why this not as more common knowledge, you know?
Yeah. Well, first is it is a common knowledge. It's just we don't look for that very often. Could be more. Yes, could be more. And I think that there is a lot of people are just afraid of looking into things that they don't understand, right? So I think that it's important that we kind of be cautious also because there is first just for you to know, this is a type of mediumship where the spirit acts direct on matter, and we are going to understand that, and this is also explained on the medium's book. This is a format of mediumship that by concentrating you are able to move things. In the past there were people that were able to levitate because of that, so those are all types of mediumship. The thing is, remember that we were discussing the reasons why we have mediumship. It's for us to enlighten people. It's for us to bring comfort. It's for us to help humankind to expand their knowledge. So if this is not being used with that specific purpose, I mean, what's the point of looking to all of that? It's going to be curiosity, and it's not going to get us anywhere. So I think that I think it's really nice when we have the opportunity to see people with that ability. But I'm even more interested to see what these people are doing with this type of mediumship, because this can help a lot. And I feel like this is where we can try to understand. There are a lot of examples, and I can search for all of them and bring next class if you want, but there are a lot of examples of material of this type of mediumship in material effect that we can see there. It's not super common. This is a rare one based on what we read. And if I remember correctly, because of two things. One is because it's rare. It's not easy, or it's not simple. And the second thing, what I would say. So first is because it's rare, and then the second thing is just vanished from my mind.
I wouldn't know if there's unless the fact that it can show that can do. I don't think what can it bring to prove you anything. Like what show that can be.
Yeah, you broke again, Pachi. I remember what
Oh,
it would say. No, you're fine. I remember what it would say. So the first thing is because it's rare, and then the second thing is also because in the past we needed to have this type of mediumship for people to believe that communicating with spirits was a thing. It was possible. And that's why in the past, even in Brazil, I don't know if you know that, but in Brazil it was very common for people to be possessed, even in streets, or they were in the supermarket and they would start talking, or all that kind of, this used to happen in the past. Right now people are opening more to understand their intuitions. And then it's been more common to see the type of mediumship that you just speak without having those strong effects. That was necessary more in the past at the beginning and not so necessary nowadays. This, what I'm telling you, it's not coming from me. You can see that in the Medium's book, and you can see Divaldo Franco and Chico Xavier has a lot of books explaining that as well.
I'll take a look.
Does that answer?
Yeah, it does. It does make sense. But I think that what makes more sense to me, that's like also a lot of people are not ready for it, and they will just freak out.
Yes, yes. But that's why it is important that we disseminate seriously. Because I mean, every corner you can see someone saying psychic reading. That's mediumship. That's mediumship right there. But the thing with that is there is no commitment with the truth. When there is money involved, you will tell the person what the person wants to hear, and that might not necessarily be the truth. So there is more intention rather than just helping. And then you have healers saying, I can heal you. I mean, again, there's nothing that the spirituality will do for you that you have to be willing to do something. It's not only Jesus. Remember, there are so many passages that Jesus says, your faith healed you. It's not Jesus go there and he healed. Your faith healed you, because it also entices you believing, you surrendering to God. So definitely it's not something that happens only from there to us.
Thank you.
Yeah, and here in America, we have a lot of shows that come on, like they call them Ghostbusters, and their mission is to prove that there is ghosts, that there are spirits living in certain places, or haunted houses and stuff. And the misconception about this whole thing is that they're actually bad people. They're monsters or demons or what have you. They're us. They're our brothers and sisters who discarnated and they're earthbound. They cannot leave. They didn't educate themselves. And so you have mediums who can come in and say hello to them and get them to move on, that kind of thing. I mean, there's all types of different types of mediums. And you do have some that can hold a certain vibration that can help you, and there are those that can actually read your aura and see your past lives and so on. And again, like Kiki is saying, there is a merit to your work. And there's also different vibrations of beings that actually work with you, because there's beings on the other side that are good, and there are beings on the other side that are bad. It still depends on where you are mentally. If it's about money, those are the ones you're going to attract. If it's about merit that you want from God, those are the ones you will attract. And that's the only thing that really matters, is the merits that you're creating for afterlife. Those are the only ones that you can cash in. That's it. All the material things, you've already reaped your reward by the money that you receive, or by the accolades that you get. Whatever it is that you're after, then it's all depends on where your mind and your heart is. The gift of charity, to help another person in healing and then on their path, that weighs more than $1 million.
Yep, exactly. Thank you, Gina.
And there's much more, but we'll wait till we get further along.
Yeah, we will talk. We will talk a lot about that. Yeah, we'll talk.
But it's always good to say hello to your guardian angel. It's easier to say that because people accept that. But each of us have one. It's always good to say hello to them and to ask them for help, and they will help you. They're not going to do it for you. That's not their mission. That's not their role. That's not their job. But you can ask for help. Again, if you're attracting those ones who are willing to throw a glass across the table or act out or whatever, then that's where your thinking is. You will get what you attract. So, but anyway, back to you, Kiki.
Thank you.
Thank you. Which is exactly what Allan Kardec saw. Remember that at the beginning, there were the turning tables and everybody was there just for fun, right? They were making fun of that. And then he decided to take that differently. And that's what enabled us to be here having this discussion right now. So it's all exactly as Gina was saying, it's all about like what is the intention. And as we saw, all of us have some level of mediumship. So we all must be careful with our thoughts and our actions because those are the ones that we will attract. So if we feel like we are under a lot of suggestions of negative thoughts, we must pray. It's up to us to change that vibration. We command our aura. So if we feel like there's something going on, you don't have pray. Ask for the assistance of God, of Jesus, of your mentor, and believe. Believe because God's there for you. We are never alone. Never. All right. I think we ran over of time. I'm happy to take more questions if you guys have. I will put on the chat my phone number if anyone would like to send me any notes or any questions, and I'll be happy for us to move forward. But that's it. All right. Pat, you want to do our closing prayer?
Yeah.
Saying thank you. You are on mute.
Wow. I think he didn't want me to do it. I'm so hard on you. Thank you, God, for this opportunity that we're having to learn from your teachings and for having these amazing teachers to guide us. And us to have in our hearts the truth, and then we can act upon it and we can be better people every day. And thank you for everything. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for guiding us every day. So be it.
And so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you so much